Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive with us.
It's great to be back.
Today we're going to be doing something a little different.
Yeah, a little bit of a departure from our usual.
Yeah, exactly.
Uh,
Instead of diving into the technical side of AI,
right, all the algorithms and circuits and whatnot.
all that stuff, we're going to be looking at something a little bit more, well, human.
That's right. We're going to be exploring the stories from Her Heartbeat, Celebrating Human Connection.
Oh yeah.
It's a collection of short stories from all over the globe, and it's really just a reminder that even in our tech-driven world, the need for connection, it's still such a powerful force in our lives.
I think that's such a great point because sometimes it feels like we're just surrounded by screens and devices.
All the time.
Yeah, and it's easy to forget that at the end of the day, we're all human beings who crave connection.
Absolutely. And these stories, they really highlight that.
Okay, so should we jump into our first story?
Let's do it.
All right, this one takes place in the middle of New York City.
Oh, busy, busy.
Super busy. Yeah,
Hmm.
it's called The Subway Samaritan, and it's about a simple but really profound interaction.
I love those kinds of stories.
And me too. They're the best. Okay, so picture this. A crowded subway car, an elderly woman. She's struggling with these heavy bags,
Oh, no.
and then another passenger just steps in to help her.
That's so nice.
Right. And what's really cool is that the passenger doesn't just help with the bags. They actually offer companionship to the woman too.
Oh, wow. So they're not just helping physically, they're making her feel safe and seen.
Exactly. It's like a little moment of human connection in this crazy busy city.
It's those little moments that can make such a big difference.
Totally. And it's interesting. This story is kind of taken off online.
Really?
Yeah. People are sharing their own experiences with the hashtag Subway Kindness.
I love that.
It's really cool. I don't, have you ever witnessed or been a part of something similar like that?
Let me think.
That moment when a stranger's kindness makes a city feel a little less anonymous.
Oh, yeah. Actually, now that you mention it, I totally have.
Oh, tell me about it.
Well, it was a few years ago. I was actually visiting New York.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and I was totally lost. I mean, completely turned around.
Oh, no.
And I was trying to figure out the subway map, and I was just getting so flustered.
Yeah, those maps can be confusing.
They really can. And this woman, she must have seen that I was struggling, and she came over and asked if I needed help.
Oh, that's so sweet.
I know, and she was so patient. She helped me figure out which train I needed to take and even walked me to the right platform.
Wow, she went above and beyond.
She really did, and it just made me feel so much better. It's like she restored my faith in humanity a little bit.
That's awesome. I think it's so true, though, that even in a big city like that, there's still so much kindness out there.
I think so, too. It's just about looking for it.
For sure.
Hmm.
Okay, so moving on to our next story.
Okay, this one sounds interesting.
This one's set in Paris on a rainy day.
Oh, Paris in the rain. How romantic.
I know, right? The story is called The Book Sanctuary, and it's about a small bookstore that decides to do something really special during a torrential downpour.
No, I wonder what they do.
They open their doors for free to anyone who needs shelter from the rain.
That's so kind.
I know, right? And they basically create this cozy little haven for people to escape the storm.
Imagine that you're soaking wet and you stumble upon this warm, inviting bookstore.
Filled with books and the smell of old paper. It's like a little piece of peace in the middle of chaos.
Absolutely. And it really shows the power of shared spaces. You know, how they can bring people together in unexpected ways.
Totally. And there's this great quote from the bookstore owner that I wanted to share.
Okay, well, I'm listening.
They said, "Books unite us."
I love that. So simple, but so true.
I know, it really speaks to the power of stories. How they can bridge divides and connect us across time and cultures and experiences.
Like a common thread running through all of humanity.
Exactly. And it makes you think about the books that have had a big impact on your life. Chances are those same books have resonated with countless other people too, creating this sense of shared understanding.
It's like a network of empathy built on a foundation of shared stories.
Okay, so now we're going to shift gears a little bit.
Okay, where are we headed now?
We're going from the calm quiet of a bookstore to the high-energy world of sports.
Oh, interesting.
This next story is called The Marathon of Unity, and it takes place in Nairobi, Kenya.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
It's a story that really challenges our assumptions about competition.
In what way?
Well, in the middle of this marathon, right, everyone's pushing themselves to their limits. One of the runners collapses.
Oh, gosh.
And instead of just continuing on, trying to win the race, his fellow competitors, they actually stop and help him.
Wow, that's amazing.
I know, they put aside their own personal goals to make sure he can reach the finish line.
It's like in that moment, compassion just completely trumps competition.
Exactly. And it shows that even in the most demanding situations like that, we're still capable of incredible empathy.
It's really heartwarming.
It is. And, this story has actually sparked a lot of discussion online.
Oh, really?
Yeah, people are using the hashtag Marathon of Unity to share their thoughts on it.
Makes sense. It's definitely a powerful story.
Yeah, it makes you think, can we strive for excellence while also prioritizing the well-being of those around us?
That's the question, isn't it? Like, can we recode that win-lose mentality that's so prevalent in competitive environments?
Right. And maybe this story is a sign that people are starting to crave a different kind of narrative.
A narrative that's more about collaboration and support.
Totally. Okay, so for our next stop, we're heading to Tokyo.
Ooh, Tokyo. I love Tokyo.
Me too. It's such a vibrant city.
And the food is amazing.
The best. Okay, so this story is called The Language of Friendship.
Ah, I like the sound of that already.
It's about a volunteer-led initiative that teaches language skills to immigrants in a really unique way.
Oh, I'm curious. How do they do it?
They use art and music.
Wow, that's so creative.
I know, right? It's based on the idea that creativity is a universal language that everyone can understand.
That makes sense.
Instead of just focusing on traditional teaching methods, they use the emotional and intuitive power of art and music to build connections and foster understanding.
So it's like they're creating a new kind of language, one that's built on shared emotions and creative expression rather than rigid rules.
Exactly. It's like a different kind of programming language.
That's right, one that's more human-centered.
I like that. Okay, so speaking of unexpected acts of generosity,
Yeah.
our next story takes us to Mumbai, India.
All right, Mumbai, let's hear it.
This one's called The Unexpected Feast. And it's a heartwarming tale about a restaurant that quietly covers the cost of a meal for a family who's clearly struggling.
Oh, wow, that's incredible.
Right. They do it without any fanfare or social media posts.
Just pure kindness.
Exactly. It's a reminder that compassion can show up in the most unexpected places.
Even in a busy city like Mumbai.
Yeah, and this story has really resonated with people online.
I'm not surprised it's a beautiful story.
The hashtag Unexpected Feast has been trending, with people sharing similar stories of kindness.
It's like a chain reaction of generosity.
It makes you think, how can we incorporate these small acts of kindness into our own lives?
Right, like how can we make kindness a more regular part of our routine?
Maybe it's paying for someone's coffee or offering to help someone with their groceries.
Or even just listening to someone who needs to talk.
Exactly. Those small gestures might seem insignificant, but they can make a big difference.
Especially when we all do them.
It's like we're all part of this network of kindness, and each act strengthens the connections between us.
I love that analogy. It's like we're all weaving a web of compassion.
And that web can spread all over the world.
Absolutely. Okay, so where to next?
All right, our next story takes us to Sao Paulo, Brazil.
Ooh, Brazil. I've always wanted to go there.
It's on my list, too. This story is called The Guardian of Stray Animals, and it's about a man who goes out of his way to care for stray dogs.
Aw, that's so sweet.
I know he makes sure they have food and water, especially during bad weather.
He's like their guardian angel.
He really is. And it's a reminder that compassion can extend beyond our own species.
It's about recognizing the shared vulnerability of all living beings.
And extending a helping hand to those in need, no matter what form they take.
So true. And this story has sparked some important conversations online about animal welfare.
Yeah, people are talking about the responsibilities we have to the creatures we share this planet with.
It's an important discussion to have.
It really is. It makes you think, how can we advocate for the well-being of all creatures, not just our own?
And how can we expand our understanding of community to include all living things?
All right, so our next story takes us to Toronto, Canada.
Okay, Toronto. What's happening there?
This one's called The Blanket Project. And it's about a group of volunteers who do something really special during a particularly cold winter.
I'm intrigued. What do they do?
They distribute blankets to people experiencing homelessness.
Oh, wow. That's so kind and practical.
Exactly. It's about providing warmth and comfort to those who need it most.
It's like they're wrapping them in a hug.
Ah, I love that. And, it's not just about physical warmth.
What else is it about?
It's also about offering a sense of human dignity and recognizing the shared humanity of those who might be marginalized or overlooked.
So it's about seeing them as people.
Exactly. And this story has inspired others to take action.
Really?
Yeah, the hashtag Blanket of Love has been spreading online.
That's awesome.
It's encouraging people to replicate this initiative in their own communities.
It shows how small acts of kindness can have a ripple effect.
And create a wave of compassion.
Love it.
Speaking of ripple effects, Our next story takes us to London, England.
Okay, London, here we come.
This one is called The Secret Santa of Hope.
Ooh, that sounds mysterious and
It
fun.
is. It's about an anonymous individual who's spreading joy and wonder through random acts of kindness.
Like what kind of things?
Imagine finding a thoughtfully chosen gift or a handwritten note of encouragement just left in a public place.
Oh, wow, that would make my day.
Right. It's like a little reminder that someone cares, even in the anonymity of a big city.
It's like magic.
Exactly. And the impact of these gestures goes beyond the material value of the gifts.
What do you mean?
It's about creating a sense of mystery and delight.
And reminding people that good things can happen unexpectedly.
Exactly. And the hashtag Secret Santa of Hope has taken off online with people sharing their own stories of giving and receiving.
It's inspiring people to spread kindness in their own way.
So it's about breaking free from the script and finding creative ways to make someone's day.
I like that it's like hacking kindness.
Okay, so for our next story, we're going to Indonesia.
Oh, Indonesia. I've heard it's beautiful.
This story is called The Environmental Guardians, and it highlights the power of youth leadership in addressing environmental challenges.
Oh, wow, that's so important.
It's about a group of young people who organized a massive beach cleanup.
That's amazing.
They turned what could have been a mundane task into a really vibrant and impactful community event.
So it's about more than just cleaning up the environment. It's about community building.
Exactly. And it's inspiring to see the younger generation stepping up to address the environmental issues that will affect their future.
It gives me hope for the future.
Me too. And this story has sparked a conversation about empowering young people to be agents of change.
We need to listen to their voices and support their efforts.
Absolutely. Okay, so for our final story, we're traveling to Seoul, South Korea.
Elsa.
All right, let's hear it. This one's called The Healing Hand, and it's about a nurse whose compassion goes above and beyond her medical duties.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
So this nurse, she stays beyond her shift to comfort a patient who's visibly scared and alone.
Oh, that's so touching.
I know. And her act of kindness was actually captured on social media and has touched countless hearts around the world.
It's a reminder that sometimes the most powerful medicine is human connection.
I love that. And it's also a reminder that healthcare professionals are not just technicians. They're caregivers who can offer empathy and compassion.
They're human beings, too.
Exactly. And this nurse actually said something that really stuck with me.
Oh, what did she say?
She said, "We heal with our hearts as much as our hands."
Wow, that's beautiful.
It really is. It speaks to the profound impact of human connection in the healing process.
And it challenges the often impersonal nature of medical settings.
So it makes you think, how can we inject more humanity into healthcare systems that can often feel cold and bureaucratic?
Right? How can we make sure that compassion is at the heart of healthcare?
Okay, so we've journeyed all over the world with these stories, and we've seen so many examples of human connection.
It's been amazing.
You know, it's like we've taken a little break from the digital world and reconnected with our shared humanity.
And it's a reminder that even in a world that can feel increasingly divided, kindness still exists.
It's everywhere if we know where to look for it.
And it's up to each of us to cultivate kindness in our own lives and spread it to others.
Absolutely. Okay, so before we move on to our next segment, I want to pose a question to our listeners.
All right, I'm listening.
Think about all the stories we've shared today and ask yourself this: what act of kindness will you share today?
It doesn't have to be anything big. Even a small gesture can make a difference.
And if you're feeling inspired, share your stories with us using the hashtag #HeartbeatKindness.
We love hearing from our listeners.
Okay, so now we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll be diving into some of the deeper themes that emerge from these stories.
Sounds good. I'm looking forward to it.
Welcome back, everyone.
I'm ready for more heartwarming stories.
Me too.
Yeah.
So in this segment, we're going to be diving a little deeper into some of the themes that emerged from the stories we shared in the first part.
Okay, sounds good.
One of the things that really struck me was how many of these stories were about ordinary people doing extraordinary things.
Yeah, it's like they weren't trying to be heroes or anything. They were just acting from a place of compassion.
Exactly. And I think that's what makes these stories so inspiring. It's like kindness is something that's accessible to all of us.
Right. It's not some special skill or talent. It's something we can all choose to practice.
And when we do, it can have a ripple effect spreading outwards and touching countless lives.
It's like throwing a pebble into a pond and watching the waves spread.
I love that analogy.
So I'm curious what other themes stood out to you.
Well, I was also really struck by the role of community in these stories.
Yeah, me too. It seemed like in many of these stories, it was the community that made the act of kindness possible.
Like in the Blanket Project, for example, it was the collective effort of the volunteers
Yeah.
that allowed them to provide warmth and comfort to so many people.
And even in the stories where the act of kindness was initiated by an individual, it was often the community that amplified the impact.
Right, like in The Unexpected Feast, the restaurant's act of kindness inspired others to pay it forward, creating a chain reaction of generosity.
So it's like community acts as a multiplier for kindness.
Exactly. And it makes you realize that we're not alone in this. And, there's a whole network of people out there who are committed to making the world a better place.
And when we come together, we can achieve amazing things.
For sure, another theme that I noticed was the importance of perspective.
What do you mean by that?
Well, a lot of these stories challenged our assumptions about the world. They showed us that things aren't always what they seem.
Like in the Marathon of Unity, for example, we saw that competition doesn't always have to be cutthroat. It can also be a source of support and compassion.
And in The Guardian of Stray Animals, we saw that compassion can extend beyond our own species
Right. It's about recognizing the shared vulnerability of all living beings.
and expanding our understanding of community.
So it's about challenging our biases and opening our hearts to new possibilities.
Exactly. And I think that's a really important message, especially in today's world, where it's so easy to get caught up in our own little bubbles.
Right. We need to make an effort to step outside of ourselves and see the world through other people's eyes.
And when we do that, we might just be surprised by what we discover.
So do you think these stories have any implications for the way we approach artificial intelligence?
That's an interesting question.
As we're developing these increasingly sophisticated AI systems, it's important to remember that they're going to be operating in a world that's inhabited by human beings.
Right. And human beings are complex and messy and emotional.
And we need to make sure that our AI systems are designed in a way that respects and values those qualities.
So it's not just about making AI that's intelligent. It's also about making AI that's kind.
And compassionate and empathetic.
Exactly. And I think these stories give us some clues about how to do that.
Like what kind of clues?
Well, for one thing, they show us that kindness is often about small gestures.
Right. It doesn't have to be some grand, elaborate act. It can be something as simple as holding a door open for someone or offering a listening ear.
And those small gestures can have a big impact, especially when they're repeated over time.
So maybe we can program our AI systems to perform similar acts of kindness.
Like maybe a chatbot could be programmed to offer words of encouragement to someone who's feeling down.
Or a self-driving car could be programmed to give priority to pedestrians who are struggling to cross the street.
Those are great ideas. And I think it's important to remember that kindness isn't just about actions. It's also about intention.
What do you mean?
Well, I think a lot of these stories were so powerful because the people involved were acting from a genuine desire to help others.
Right. They weren't doing it for any reward or recognition. They were just doing it because it was the right thing to do.
Exactly. And I think that's something we need to keep in mind as we're developing AI.
We need to make sure that our AI systems are aligned with our values.
And that those values include kindness, compassion, and empathy.
So it's not just about making AI that's smart. It's about making AI that's good.
I love that that should be our new motto, good AI.
Catchy and meaningful.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground in this segment.
We have, but I feel like we've just scratched the surface.
Me too. There's so much more to explore when it comes to the intersection of AI and human connection.
But I think these stories have given us a good foundation to build on.
Absolutely. And I hope they've inspired our listeners to think about how they can bring more kindness into the world.
And maybe even into the world of AI.
So as we move on to our final segment, I want to leave you with one last thought.
Okay, I'm all ears.
What if we could create an AI system that was not only intelligent, but also deeply compassionate and empathetic?
Now that would be something special.
It would be a game changer.
Imagine the possibilities.
It's something to think about.
Definitely something to strive for.
All right, so now we're going to take another quick break. And when we come back, we'll be wrapping up our deep dive into the world of Oh Heartbeat, celebrating human connection with some final thoughts and reflections.
Sounds good. I'm looking forward to it.
Welcome back to the show.
It's been quite a journey, hasn't it?
It really has. We've traveled all over the world through these incredible stories.
And we've seen so many different examples of human connection.
It's like we've created a little tapestry of kindness.
Woven together with threads of compassion and empathy.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I wanted to take a moment to reflect on what we've learned.
Yeah. What are some of the key takeaways for you?
Well, one of the biggest takeaways for me is that kindness is a choice.
I agree with it. It's not something that just happens to us. It's something we actively choose to do.
And even small acts of kindness can have a big impact.
Like those little ripples spreading outwards, creating a wave of positivity.
Exactly. And another thing that really struck me is that kindness is contagious.
Oh, yeah, for sure. When we see someone else being kind, it inspires us to do the same.
It's like a chain reaction of goodness.
And that chain reaction can spread far and wide.
Absolutely. And finally, I think these stories have really highlighted the importance of community.
Yeah, we're not meant to go through life alone.
We need each other.
And when we come together, we can accomplish amazing things.
Like creating a world where kindness is the norm.
A world where compassion and empathy are valued above all else.
That's a world I want to live in.
Me too. And I think these stories give us hope that such a world is possible.
So as we sign off today, we want to leave you with a challenge.
A kindness challenge.
Exactly. We challenge you to go out there and spread some kindness in the world.
It doesn't have to be anything big.
Just a small gesture to brighten someone's day.
And if you're feeling inspired, share your stories with us using the hashtag #HeartbeatKindness.
We love hearing about the amazing things our listeners are doing.
And be sure to join us next time for another deep dive,
We'll be exploring a new topic,
but one that's just as important.
the intersection of artificial intelligence and ethics.
It's going to be a fascinating conversation.
So until then, stay curious, stay connected.
And most importantly, stay kind.
Thanks for listening, everyone.
We'll see you next time.